The Second Sex is a groundbreaking philosophical and feminist work by Simone de Beauvoir, first published in 1949. The book examines the historical, social, and psychological conditions that have contributed to the subjugation of women throughout history. De Beauvoir argues that women have been defined as the other in relation to men, rather than as autonomous individuals. She explores the ways in which culture, biology, history, and existentialist philosophy shape the experience of womanhood and limit women's opportunities for self-actualization. The book is divided into two main volumes: Facts and Myths and Lived Experience. In Facts and Myths, de Beauvoir analyzes various perspectives that have historically influenced the perception of women. She first examines the biological differences between men and women, acknowledging that while there are physical differences, they do not inherently justify social inequality. She then critiques the arguments of psychoanalysis, historical materialism, and other philosophical and scientific theories that have attempted to define women's nature. She asserts that these perspectives have often been used to reinforce male dominance rather than to understand the true condition of women. She also deconstructs myths about femininity that have been perpetuated through literature, religion, and philosophy, showing how these myths create unrealistic and limiting expectations for women. In Lived Experience, de Beauvoir focuses on how women internalize oppression from childhood through adulthood. She describes how girls are socialized to become passive, submissive, and dependent on men. She examines how women's roles as daughters, wives, and mothers restrict their freedom and prevent them from achieving full personhood. De Beauvoir discusses how marriage, motherhood, and economic dependence trap women in lives of servitude, reinforcing the idea that their primary function is to serve men and society rather than pursue their own aspirations. She also highlights the struggles of women in love, sexuality, and intellectual pursuits, emphasizing that they are often forced to define themselves through their relationships with men rather than through their own ambitions. One of the key arguments of the second sex is that one is not born, but rather becomes a woman. De Beauvoir emphasizes that gender is not a fixed biological fact but a social construct shaped by cultural expectations and historical circumstances. She argues that women must reject their status as the mother and assert their autonomy through economic independence, education, and participation in public life. She also stresses that true equality can only be achieved when both men and women work together to dismantle patriarchal structures and redefine gender roles. Throughout the book, de Beauvoir calls for women to transcend the limitations imposed on them by society and to claim their own identity and agency. She critiques traditional femininity, which she sees as an artificial construct designed to keep women in a state of inferiority. She argues that women must recognize their own strength and potential in order to break free from oppression. She also highlights the importance of collective action in achieving gender equality, suggesting that both men and women must challenge existing power dynamics to create a more just and equitable society. The Second Sex remains one of the most influential feminist texts of all time, laying the foundation for modern feminist thought. De Beauvoir's work has inspired countless discussions on gender, freedom, and equality, and her ideas continue to shape debates on women's rights around the world. By exposing the deep-rooted structures of female oppression and advocating for women's liberation, The Second Sex remains a powerful call to action for those seeking gender justice.